I never thought I would end up on the dark web. It was always something that seemed like a distant and dangerous world, a place where only the brave or the foolish ventured. But here I was, sitting in front of my laptop, heart racing and palms sweating as I clicked on the link that would take me into the depths of the dark web. It all started innocently enough. I had heard whispers and rumors about the dark web, a hidden part of the internet where anything could be bought and sold. Drugs, weapons, stolen identities, you name it, it was there. I was curious, like any other person would be, and so I did some research. I learned about the Tor browser, the encryption, and the layers of anonymity that kept its users hidden from the prying eyes of the authorities. And then, I stumbled upon a forum. It was a forum for horror enthusiasts, a place where people shared their favorite scary stories and urban legends. I was immediately drawn in, spending hours reading through the posts and comments. But as I delved deeper, I noticed a section that seemed to stand out from the rest, the dark web horror stories section. My curiosity got the best of me and I clicked on the link. The page loaded slowly, as if it was hesitant to reveal its secrets. And then, the screen was filled with a list of posts, each one more chilling than the last. I clicked on one that caught my eye and began reading. The story was about a man who stumbled upon a website on the dark web that sold cursed objects. Intrigued, he purchased a strange-looking necklace and wore it for days without any consequences. But then, strange things started happening. He would see shadows moving in the corner of his eye, hear whispers in the dead of the night. And then, one day, he woke up with the necklace tightly wrapped around his neck, choking him. He barely managed to remove it before passing out. I shuddered as I read the story. It was unnerving, but I couldn't stop reading. I clicked on another one, and then another. Each one was more terrifying than the last, and yet, I couldn't tear my eyes away. It was like a train wreck, horrifying, yet impossible to look away from, and then, I came across a post that caught my attention. It was a warning, written in bold, red letters: "Do not enter the dark web, it will find you." I scoffed at the post, dismissing it as a scare tactic. But as I scrolled down, I noticed that the comments were filled with people sharing their own experiences of being targeted by the dark web after simply browsing through it out of curiosity. I laughed it off and closed my laptop, thinking it was all just a bunch of nonsense. But then, that night, I received an email. It was from an unknown sender, and the subject line read, "We know." My heart raced as I opened the email, and my blood ran cold as I read the contents. "We know what you've been doing. We know you've been browsing the dark web. And now, it's too late. The dark web has found you." I was paralyzed with fear. How could this be happening? I dismissed it as a prank, but then, I received another email, this time with a link. Against my better judgment, I clicked on it and was taken to a website. It was a live stream of me, sitting in front of my laptop. The camera angle was from behind, so I couldn't see who was watching me. But then, a message appeared on the screen: "We're watching you, and we know everything about you. Your deepest fears, your darkest secrets, your every move. And now, we're going to make you pay for entering our world." I was trembling with fear, my mind racing with thoughts of who could be behind this. Was it just a sick prank, or was it something more sinister? And then, a video started playing on the screen. It was of a dark room, with eerie music playing in the background. And then, I saw a figure, dressed in all black, with a mask covering their face. They were holding a knife, and as they moved closer to the camera, I realized with horror that they were standing in my room. I screamed and closed my laptop, frantically looking around my room. But there was no one there. I was alone. I tried to convince myself that it was just a cruel prank, but deep down, I knew it was something more. The dark web had found me, and now, it was coming for me. I couldn't sleep that night, my mind consumed with fear and paranoia. Every creak and every shadow made me jump. And then, the next day, I received another email. This time, it was a threat: "You can't escape us. We'll always be watching you." I knew I had to do something. I couldn't live in fear for the rest of my life. So, I mustered up all my courage and went to the police. I told them everything, showed them the emails and the live stream. But they didn't believe me. They thought I was making it all up for attention, or that I was involved in some illegal activity on the dark web. Defeated and terrified, I went back home, knowing that I was on my own. And then, that night, I received one last email: "We warned you. Now, it's time for you to pay the price." I never heard from them again, but the fear never left me. Even now, years later, I still get chills thinking about that night. The dark web is a place that should never be ventured into, for the consequences can be deadly. I learned my lesson the hard way, and I hope that my story serves as a warning to others: stay away from the dark web, or it will find you. I always thought I was the typical teenage boy, spending most of my time playing video games and scrolling through social media. But everything changed when my friend introduced me to the dark web. My friend, Jake, was always into the latest tech and gadgets, and he told me about a website called the dark web. He said it was a secret part of the internet where you could find anything and everything, from illegal drugs to hitmen for hire. At first, I was hesitant. I had heard stories about the dark web and how dangerous it could be. But Jake assured me that as long as we were careful, we would be fine. He even showed me how to access it using a special browser and a VPN. Curiosity got the best of me. And I couldn't resist the temptation to explore this hidden part of the internet. Jake and I spent hours browsing through different websites, amazed by the things we found. We stumbled upon illegal marketplaces selling drugs, weapons, and even stolen credit card information. It was like being in a whole new world, one that I never knew existed, but as we delved deeper into the dark web, things started to take a darker turn. We came across disturbing images and videos, some of which I couldn't even bring myself to describe. I started to feel uneasy, but Jake brushed it off, saying that we were just scratching the surface and that there was so much more to discover. One day, while browsing through a forum, we came across a post about a mysterious website called The Red Room. The post claimed that it was a live-streaming website where viewers could watch horrific acts being performed on innocent victims. Jake was intrigued, but I was horrified. I begged him not to click on the link, but he didn't listen. The website was nothing like I had ever seen before. The dark, ominous background and the eerie music playing in the background sent shivers down my spine. The screen showed a live video of a masked figure torturing a bound and gagged person. My heart raced, and I wanted to leave, but something kept me glued to the screen. As the masked figure continued their gruesome acts, I noticed a chat box on the side of the screen. Viewers were typing in commands, telling the figure what to do to the victim. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This wasn't just some sick fantasy, this was a real person being tortured in front of our eyes. I begged Jake to turn it off, but he was too fascinated by the whole thing. He kept typing in commands, and I couldn't take it anymore. I ran out of his room, leaving him behind. I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed. My mind was racing, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of disgust and guilt for even being a part of it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the horrifying images from the Red Room. I couldn't understand how people could be so cruel and twisted. But what scared me the most was the realization that this was just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more on the dark web that we didn't even know about. Days turned into weeks, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every time I logged onto my computer, I felt like someone was watching me through the screen. I started to see things that weren't there, and I couldn't trust anyone, not even my own family. One day, while browsing through the dark web, I came across a chat room where people were discussing the Red Room. Some claimed to have been a part of it, while others were just curious. But what caught my attention was a comment from someone who claimed to know my identity and where I lived. My heart sank, and I felt like I was in danger. I immediately shut down my computer and tried to forget about the whole thing. But it was too late. The next day, while walking home from school, I noticed a black car following me. I quickened my pace, but the car kept following me. I was terrified and didn't know what to do. I finally reached my house, and the car drove past, but I knew they would come back. I was living in constant fear, always looking over my shoulder, and wondering if they were watching me. I couldn't take it anymore. I confided in my parents, and they immediately contacted the police. They traced the IP address of the chat room and found the location of the red room. It was shut down, and the people behind it were arrested. It's been months since that incident, but I still can't shake off the feeling of dread and paranoia. The dark web may seem like an exciting, mysterious place, but it's a dangerous one. I learned my lesson the hard way, and I hope no one else makes the same mistake. The dark web may be hidden, but the horrors that lurk within it are real. And once you enter, there's no turning back. I sat alone in my dark and dingy apartment, scrolling through the internet in search of something to cure my boredom. As I mindlessly clicked through various social media platforms, I suddenly stumbled upon a strange link. It was a website like no other I had seen before, with a dark and eerie design that immediately sent shivers down my spine. Curiosity getting the best of me, I clicked on the link and was directed to a site called the Dark Web. I had heard of this mysterious part of the internet before, where illegal activities often took place and dangerous people roamed. But being the adventurous and thrill-seeking person that I am, I couldn't resist the temptation to explore this hidden world. The website was filled with different categories, ranging from drugs and weapons to illegal services and even human trafficking. My heart raced as I clicked on each tab, finding myself both horrified and fascinated by the things I saw. But then, something caught my eye, a section called The Unknown. My curiosity piqued. I clicked on the tab and was directed to a page with nothing but a black screen and a single chat box. Intrigued, I typed in a simple, "Hello," and hit enter. Within seconds, a message appeared on the screen, "Welcome to the unknown. Are you ready to play a game?" My heart skipped a beat. Was this some kind of sick joke? I hesitated for a moment, but then my curiosity won over and I typed back, "What kind of game?" The response was simple yet cryptic, "A game of survival. You have 24 hours to complete the tasks given to you. If you succeed, you win a hefty sum of money. If you fail, well, let's just say there will be consequences." My mind raced with questions, but before I could even type a response, a list of tasks appeared on the screen. My hands trembled as I read through them. They were all gruesome and involved harming others. I felt sick to my stomach, but a voice in my head whispered, "Think of the money." And with that, I made my decision. I spent the next 24 hours completing each task, my mind clouded with fear and adrenaline. I couldn't believe what I was doing, but the thought of the money kept me going. With each task, the stakes seemed to get higher, and I found myself doing things I never thought I was capable of. As the time ticked down to the final hour, I anxiously waited for the final task. But instead of a task, a message appeared on the screen, "Congratulations, you have completed all the tasks. Your reward awaits you at the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town." My heart raced with excitement and fear as I made my way to the warehouse. When I arrived, I was greeted by complete darkness. I cautiously stepped inside, my hands trembling with anticipation. Suddenly, a light flickered on, revealing a figure standing in the shadows. "You have done well," the figure said, their voice deep and distorted. "Your reward is waiting for you in the room behind me. But know this, once you enter, there is no turning back." I hesitated for a moment but then pushed past the figure and entered the room. What I saw inside made my blood run cold. It was a room filled with monitors, each showing a live feed of the tasks I had completed. And on a table in the center of the room, sat a briefcase filled with cash, but before I could even reach for the briefcase, the monitors suddenly changed, showing me a live feed of my own apartment. I watched in horror as the figure from the warehouse entered my apartment and began to tear it apart, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Panic set in as I realized that I had been set up. The figure appeared behind me, their voice now sounding menacing and cruel. "You think you can play games with us? You will regret ever stumbling upon the unknown." In that moment, I knew I had made a grave mistake. I had put my life on the line for the sake of money, and now I was paying the price. The figure took the briefcase and left me there, alone and terrified. I never returned to the unknown, but the memories of that night still haunt me. I live in constant fear, knowing that they are always watching, waiting for their next victim to stumble upon their website. As for the money, it was never worth the horror and torment I experienced. The dark web is a dangerous place, and I learned that the hard way.